So, highlights of your year. What are the couple of three things that you would say were your proud moments or the highlights?
I would say that there was quite a few, and certainly one of them was youth-related programs.
That's always been your
And it's
your
always
strong-
been
your
always been my thing,
special
and
thing.
many people know that I'm a huge supporter of youth exchange, and I wanted to see us start an Interact club. I wanted to see us have a Rotaract club.
Were those both started in your year?
Those were both started in my year, and I reached out to my best friend, as many of you know, Alan Blazomi, who we've been best pals since I think 8th grade. And Alan came to us from Stockton, California, has great experience. He was president twice of his club, but he has great experience with youth programs. And so Alan, man, he just knocked the ball out of the park. And the other cool thing was, and it took a while, I think, for the club to kind of grasp this, is that the club really came to support the starting and the carrying on. That's the hardest part, is really carrying on the club. It's one thing to start it, but it's a whole other thing to carry on the effort, and it's not easy, and it takes time. And you got a guy like Alan who did a great job. We had a great relationship with the principal of Amphitheater High School, which started through Youth Exchange. John. Gosh, I forget John's last name right now, but John was very supportive, and that was all through, once again, Youth Exchange, because we had a gal that attended high school there. We had a great counselor who helped us out, so that was cool. Then there was a couple things that, interestingly, really started way before I became president that would define my year, in my opinion. And one of those came as a result of Youth Exchange, and I participated, as many people know, in the annual Have a Supai hike with our kids from the District 5500. And this all started because I kind of asked permission of the Rotary Youth Exchange chair for District 5510 and 5490, but Brendan Kennedy was in charge of Youth Exchange. And Brendan and I would end up, after 7 or 8 years, becoming good friends. I became good friends with Chuck Flint. But who would know that Brendan was on a path to becoming president of the Phoenix 100 Club? Who would know that I was on the path to become president of the Rotary Club of Tucson?
And you served simultaneously.
And we did not serve simultaneously. He was a year ahead of me. And so I have, there's a couple guys that set things up for you perfectly. And one of those was President Jim Lubinsky, who was president before me. And I have to thank Jim. I encouraged Jim that we should have a relationship with the Phoenix 100 Club. I really didn't know about yours, but and he said, "Hey, I think that's really cool." So he bought into it, and so we did a couple of trips up to Phoenix, met with the powers of the club, met Brendan, who was president the year that Jim was president, and it just started a whole relationship that would kind of pan out. When their president, the same year as I was, Jerry Oliver, would become president. We had some things in motion that would become very cool and very definitive of my year, and one of those was the Feed My Starving Children project, which was the celebration of their 100th year of Rotary in Arizona. Totally cool idea. A program that served needy kids around the world, around the planet, to serve them meals that were wrapped in this really cool little bag, and they would set up packing events around the state. And it was a really cool thing for us to participate in that. Jim kind of hooked us in, and then I had to follow up and perform. They went around the state, and they came to us in Tucson, and they said, "Hey, would you guys do a major packing event and pack over 100,000 meals?" We said, "Sure," and I didn't know exactly what that meant, but we raised over $25,000, and but the really cool thing about that project was that we had over 550 volunteers volunteer during a Saturday to pack meals.
Was it harder to accomplish than you probably didn't know what it was going to be like, did you?
Bob, the interesting thing about that it was a lot easier, and I sweated about it, huge. It kept me up in the middle of the night many times. And fortunately, being a real estate guy, I had the building that was empty at the time, still empty. Still haven't leased it, so anybody wants to lease it. But I had the spot for it, and we opened it up to the community and not just Rotarians, which I think gave us great exposure of Rotary in Tucson and Rotary in Southern Arizona to people that really weren't familiar with Rotary. We had 8 Rotary clubs participate. Our Interact Club participated. Our Rotaractors participated. Our Boy Scout troop that we've supported for over, 24 years participated. We had too many people, which is we had too much money and we had too many people. So that was a really cool deal, and something that I'll look back on. You know, Alan Bozomi, once again, there are people that come out and really help you. Alan was the guy who kind of set us up on registering people, which was huge. I had all my goofy pals, Marshall Dennington, Mark Irvin, who did the early morning firing the place up at 6 a.m. and showing up with a bunch of guys and moving stuff and getting everything situated. And so we had a lot of help, and that's what it takes. That's what it takes when you get something like that done. You know, one of the other fun things that we had that Lubinsky set me up with was the big wager. The bet was based upon increase in membership. It was annual per giving.
Percentage of membership?
Percentage increase or decrease. It was also based upon annual giving per member. It was also based upon another point where a key measuring device, if you will, was the number of people that were Paul Harris's, the percentage in your club. And then once we had just eliminated them off the board on all 3 of those, they made up a new one for attendance, and we just beat them up on that too. So
4 out of 4.
3 out of 4. I think they got us on the annual giving by a couple of bucks, and so we got 3 out of 4. We won $1,000. Jerry Oliver was a great sport, and he was a great president of that club. We had a lot of fun together. We traded going back and forth to some meetings and harassing each other, and I got to make some new friends, and that's what Rotary's all about. The $1,000 would be used when they came down and presented us with the check, would help make 100 hands for the Building Hands project under District Governor Sally Montine's district conference, which was really cool. We aligned ourselves with an outfit that makes prosthetic hands for children, and they go all over the world. So we used that money pretty well. So that was a lot of fun. Something else that I had some fun with, and I think that the club got behind, was I am personal friends with our mayor and Jonathan Rothschild. And years ago in my career in Rotary, mayors had been honorary members, and I thought that was important. And so I reached out to Jonathan. I said, "Hey man, you got to be an honorary member of the Rotary Club of Tucson. We'd love to have you." And he said, "I'd do it. I'd love to be there." So we had the mayor come to a couple of meetings, and there was one meeting in particular that was a lot of fun.
Never forget.
And keeping up with the fun theme at the meetings, and that was that I was able. Darrell Stewart actually planted the idea in my head, but I got to negotiate with the mayor directly at the table there, at the head table, and in a matter of a couple of minutes convinced him in his coat and tie to take a pie in the face to help get some matching funds, raise some money amongst the club. If I could raise like $3,000, of course the Bill Gates, Melinda Gates Foundation matches it 2 to 1, so that 3 becomes 9. And to my great surprise and enjoyment, we raised, I think, like $3,400 in a matter of minutes. So Times 3. Yeah. So bingo. We happened to have right there, we had all the props, and I got to put a pie in the mayor's face. And so I think that was a kind of a cool moment. That was a lot of fun. We had fun with that.
Anybody who was at that meeting will never forget that.
Yeah, it's not often you get to put a pie in the face of the mayor.
You have a mayor
that's a good sport. That's a good sport, willing to do that. And that was, as you know, every year. I mean, my year was just one of several. We've continued with the ride to end polio to continue to raise money. So, that was after the ride, I think, if I remember correctly. And so that was just some additional monies on top of the huge amount that we had raised with the help of John Huco coming to Tucson, which. That was an interesting experience for me during my year. I've been able to host John and his wife for the tour, and that might have been, I think, the first time that actually both he and his wife stayed with us. And
So Susan continues to contribute.
Susan is she's a rock star, and we've hosted him for 4 years. But that was the first year that we met his wife Marga, and I had actually my convention was in Portugal, in Lisbon, and I made it a point to sneak around and try to grab Hugo for 2 seconds like everybody else is and put a bug in his ear because he'd already been to Tucson once and he's an avid rider, and to try to get him to come back. And I waited in line and never got my spot, but I made sure that I got over to his wife Marga and put the bug in her ear and gave her our card and said, hey, we want you back in Tucson. We want you to come to Tucson, and you're staying at our house, so nice to meet you. And they did, so that was kind of cool.
And haven't they come for 4 straight years?
They've come for 4 straight years, and that's just that's a remarkable story. Thanks to many people in our club, Gary Hirsch, certainly Michael Harris getting it started, and when he did get it started years ago. But John has done a tremendous job, and our club has really led the efforts in that. And so that's a huge accomplishment for all of us in our club, the Rotary Club of Tucson.
So looking back on that year, David, you had a lot of experiences. You made a very important comment that you're not the person you're a better person now as a result of that. Tell us what you'd say to a Rotarian who is about to become president or aspired to be president. What advice would you give them based on your experience?
I would tell them to say yes, number one. It is I think, a defining moment in your year of existence on the planet, for you personally and for your family, for those around you, your friends that are even non-Rotarians. So I think it is a huge honor. Frankly, I was really humbled that I even got the ask, and was probably put that much pressure on myself personally and to perform. And to that I would say be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else that you're not. I think I illustrated that pretty well, because I didn't change up my game too much. Tried to maybe hone it in a little bit, but I think it's very important to say yes. If you get the ask, I think you need to say yes, and you'll have a blast doing it. There's when you are the face of the Rotary Club of Tucson, people just kind of they look at you a little different, and they have some respect, and they appreciate that you've stepped up to do that. It's not an easy job. I'm not going to lie.
No,
it's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. But I would encourage you, if you get asked to do this, it'll change your life. So am I a different person, and how am I different? Patience, tolerance, a lot of patience. I'm a pretty impatient guy, typically by nature. So I learned to be more patient. And you're managing, in some respects, you're managing, we are a business. We are a business, and those people that think we're just, a nonprofit club doing some good stuff, we're a business. And I think maybe I approached that a little differently in the context that I think that, we probably should do more to be promoting ourselves. And if we want to promote our brand and promote who we are, we're a pretty cool group of people.